local forecast. WeatherScope.
Severe weather bearing down on the Northeast. We've already had 1 death reported and 12 injuries in New Jersey and New York. We'll talk more about that in a moment. The top story, Hurricane Danny, and we go to Rich Johnson in the Forecast Center.
Well, thank you, Jeanette. Of course, that is today's top story, Hurricane Danny. And we're going to be looking in just a couple of seconds at some great satellite pictures. We can see exactly where Danny is and what's going on with it. First of all, let's look at what has already happened. This is Venice. In fact, around 7 o'clock this morning across the Mississippi River Delta region. These scenes are from Venice, where heavy rain caused flooding in the area, and hurricane-force winds created dangerous conditions as power lines and trees snapped. So that's what we had a little bit earlier. Joining me now is John Hope, our hurricane expert. John, that was this morning we just saw at Venice. Are we going to see a repeat of that anywhere else along the coast?
Well, we certainly could if this hurricane would nudge a little bit to the north. It hasn't done it much so far. While we think it will edge to the north and certainly threaten somewhere in the Gulf Coast, it's a little bit too early to say where it is. And the reason for that is that it hasn't been moving very much, so we have to see if what is going to happen here. It is moving a little bit this afternoon. It was stationary on that last advisory, as you saw, but we certainly can see some eastward movement now.
Okay, we'll evaluate that in just a second with those satellite photographs. First of all, the latest on the coordinates as of 1 p.m. and just a reminder, the Hurricane Center will put out some new information on its next advisory, which should be about the next half an hour or so. As of 1 p.m. Central Daylight, Danny was centered 90 miles southwest of Mobile. Again, nearly stationary, but as John mentioned, there has been a little bit of change. Hurricane warning still out from Morgan City eastward to Destin, and a tornado watch has been posted for areas of the north central Gulf Coast. We do have a storm surge, which could be generally 4 or 5 feet at the present time. John, where's the best chance of seeing this storm surge come ashore?
The storm surge would be around southeast Louisiana, primarily though now I think up toward the Mississippi coast, the Alabama coast, and even on the west Florida coast.
Okay, join us now is Jim Cantori. He's there at Pascagoula. Jim, it looks like the rain's coming down a little bit heavier.
Rich, I'm getting soaked, man. I mean, it's just absolutely dumping here in Pascagoula. We've easily had 4 inches of rain, if not more. And, it just piles up at about an inch an hour or so, if not even greater rates than that. I didn't realize this was such a good beach day here in Pascagoula. You can look behind me here across the street. We're right on Beach Boulevard. You can see the pier there. And these guys are just about to take the windsurfer out. And believe it or not, for windsurfing, we could actually use a little bit more wind than what we have now. There really haven't been that many gusts except for some of the rain bands that came in earlier today. Since then, the wind seemed to have died off just a little bit. The folks aren't taking this easy. You want to take a little drive down to the bar,
Jim, your picture's breaking up a little bit, of course. Sometimes when we have hurricane force winds and heavy rain, the picture doesn't come in clearly. Hopefully we'll be able to get back to you soon as maybe the squall lets up just a little bit. Well, John, we did receive some new information. Can you tell us about that? The new advisory actually in now.
Well, the new advisory indicates that the hurricane has started to move a little bit. It's moving toward the northeast, just about due northeast at about 5 miles an hour only. Well, if that motion continues tonight, then it is going to gradually bring it closer to the coast. And by tomorrow morning, it would be very close indeed to the coast, if not right on the coast.
So where along the coast? Mississippi-Alabama border, possibly?
Well, we have to look at certainly Alabama. It seems maybe, well, southeast Mississippi and Alabama, and even the Florida Panhandle, the extreme west Florida Panhandle is a possibility.
Okay, let's take a look at the wind field with our hurricane. Of course, it's been a little bit asymmetrical, meaning the highest winds have been off to the right of the center of the eye of the hurricane, and the tropical storm force winds stand or continue well out to sea. Here's our satellite photograph, and John, what do we see here near that center circulation?
Well, near the center circulation, Rich, you can very clearly see the eye now of the hurricane right about over the Chandeleur Islands now, and over very warm water, and we can perceive now a little bit of movement, as we indicated, slow movement, about 5 miles per hour.
Looks like a big break, and actually a few heavier showers near Apalachicola, just off the coast.
Yeah, those are way east of where the center of the storm is.
John, we do have some new satellite imagery, and this is a 7.5 minute picture, so essentially what we're seeing is what's happening now.
We get a new picture, Rich, that you're right, every 7.5 minutes, and if we look at that very carefully, we have a beautiful depiction of the eye there, and you can kind of follow along. You can kind of see a motion just about in that direction.
Okay, here's our zoomed in picture. We can see the motion a little bit more clearly here.
And that line in the middle is that line of islands, the Chandeleur Islands, and it certainly is getting a little bit better formed. We have a new reconnaissance report in front of me that I was just evaluating. The pressure is down a little bit more, even down to 986 millibars.
And John, I wanted to show the radar here just before we finish up. And of course, we can see the center of circulation, the eye, making its way possibly off to the northeast, making landfall.
And again, looking at that radar, we can't emphasize too much the heavy rain. It's already impinging along the coast in Alabama and Mississippi, and lots more rain to come there.
All right, thank you, John. We'll update everyone on the latest with our hurricane, of course, with the tropical update in every top and bottom of the hour. Now let's head back in the studio with Janetta, who has more about our forecast.